We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
I know they're gonna kiss me, but don't let anyone see me like that. Please, Doctor, help me!
Biologically speaking, it's of primary importance that man should want to mate. Hey, that's...
You don't get all your kicks from surfing, do you?
We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.
You think you're gonna make a slave of the world? I'll see you in hell first!
The American International Podcast.
Are you ready?
Welcome to the American International Podcast. I'm Jeff Markin.
I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And this week we're foregoing the drive-in to stay in our living rooms as we begin a 10-week journey into the world of AI TV. That's American International Television. On this first episode, we're going back to 1970 to join Johnny Sokko and his flying robot for a voyage into space.
Should I give a little glimpse behind the scenes? We never go to the drive-in. We're always in our living room watching these movies.
You're destroying the vision.
Sorry. Our credits come from the television series. It was based on Giant Robo by Mitsutaro Yokoyama, and the screenplay was written by Masaru Ikami and directed by Minoru Yamada. And credits are all but non-existent on the American version, but going back to the television series from which Voyage into Space is comprised, we find that it was written by Reuben Guberman, produced by Salvatore Billitteri, and directed by Manuel San Fernando, allegedly.
Voyage into Space stars Mitsundbu Keneko as Johnny Sokko, aka Unicorn Agent U7, Akio Ito as Jerry Mano, Unicorn Agent U3, Hirohiko Sato as Emperor Guillotine, Shōzaburō as Chief Azuma, Toshiyuki Tsuchiyama as the Giant Robot.
It also stars Yumiko Katayama as Mitsuko Nishino, Agent U5, Tomomi Kuwabara as Mari Hanmura, Agent U6, Jerry Berke as the English language narrator, uncredited, and as the English voice of Johnny Sokko, Bobbie Byers. The English voice of Jerry Mano was Paul Brown, and Ted Rusoff is not credited, but perhaps provided some additional voices.
And I'm sure we butchered the majority of those names, so apologies.
Maybe not the majority, but a few.
Voyage into Space opens exactly like the television series it comes from, with the AI TV logo. The first difference being the title of the movie is Voyage into Space and not Johnny Sokko and his flying robot.
The credits roll over Giant Robot showing off his moves as his militant theme song plays. And then we get a little voiceover from the narrator to tell us where we are and what we're doing here.
We see a weird flying saucer entering the solar system.
The narrator says, "From the far reaches of outer space, a flying saucer approaches Earth."
Its destination, the green planet with one moon, which just happens to be Earth. Ground forces call for an investigation as the UFO enters the Earth's atmosphere. Jets are sent up. They try to contact this mysterious craft, but it doesn't respond, so the jets are ordered to take offensive measures.
But then a voice is heard over the radio. The voice identifies itself as Emperor Guillotine from the planet Gargoyle and says that his mission is to take over the Earth, and he does a little Sig Heil salute here. What I'm next is describing what he looks like. I'm a clumsily constructed creature in a deep blue mask with a pink light emanating from a bulb on its forehead.
I'm trying to remember, I watched the show as a kid. I was aware of it as a mask, but I don't know if I interpreted it as being a mask on the show or if that was actually what it looked like.
Well, I can't speak to what you thought as a child, but it's pretty obvious here that it's a bad mask.
Right, but is it intended to be a mask or is it intended to be actually how Guillotine looks?
Well, Guillotine is just one denizen of the planet Gargoyle, and we meet several others, and they all have a different look to them. So I kind of feel like this is a mask. Otherwise, he would have the same weird head shape that the others do, even though they don't look alike. They all have really big foreheads.
Yeah, he's got like these tentacles that come out from under his mask and down around his torso a little bit, and they look like felt,
Definitely.
Which I did not get when I watched this in the 70s, but I also wasn't watching it in high def, so maybe that's the difference.
He's wearing a gold lame bodysuit as well. Very funky. Oh, and he holds a trident, and it has a glowing orb on top of it.
Anyway, now he's going to show these jets that are attacking him just what power he wields. By just raising an arm, he blows up a jet.
Did he do another Nazi salute?
No, maybe that's how he did it, but he just kind of went like this. And
Make it so. And then his spacecraft, which looks like it was made of tin to resemble a manta ray and painted by preschoolers, plunges into the Pacific Ocean, coming to rest on the ocean floor.
The narrator tells us that the ship was never recovered and, after many months, was thought destroyed. But then, strange things began to happen.
And now we're on a passenger ship where a grown man approaches a little boy standing alone by the railing. The man tells the little boy that the calm seas are but an illusion. Something mysterious is happening here. The little boy, who sounds like a middle-aged woman with emphysema, asks this totally safe man what he means.
The man tells the boy that it's too quiet, and a quiet sea is dangerous. The boy asks him what he's on about, and the man explains that ships have been going missing in this part of the Pacific. The boy says that it won't do any good to let it scare him, and the man is impressed with the boy's courage. He starts to introduce himself as Jerry Mano, agent of Unicorn, but then corrects himself and says, I'm a writer.
The boy says his name is Johnny Sokko, and Jerry greets him rather creepily. I don't like this interaction between a strange man and a little boy with apparently no supervision. Johnny says that he wants to be big like Jerry. Then Jerry's suit starts to chirp. He excuses himself to take a call.
Jerry runs around the corner. He's got a call from Unicorn HQ. He answers at Agent U3, and the call is from Unicorn Chief Azuma. The chief wants an update and to know if there's any action. Jerry tells him that he saw some fish playing around, but the chief has no sense of humor and tells Jerry to call him when he has something to report.
Johnny's watching this whole time as Jerry speaks into a fountain pen with its antenna extended.
Who is he talking to? It's strange.
It is strange.
As Jerry ends the call, the ship suddenly pitches and sends Johnny flying into Jerry's arms. Johnny points out at the sea and says, "Look there," and a large tentacle emerges from the water.
And then there's a rumble and a big dumb rubber monster with drapey flesh on its arms emerges from the sea.
This is Draculon, the great sea monster.
It's taller than the boat. A few passengers appear on the deck. There weren't any before, just as waves splash up over the railing.
One of the passengers who runs by says, "That must be the monster."
The monster I've been hearing so much about. Jerry and Johnny decide that they'd better jump, and they cling to each other as they hop over the railing and into the stormy sea. I have a question here, Jeff. Was this kid just traveling alone with no parental supervision or anyone looking after him?
That seems to be the situation here. From the water, Jerry and Johnny watch as Draculon pulls the ship, now in flames, into the sea.
Later, Jerry and Johnny wake up on an island, their suits dry cleaned and pressed. Johnny wants to know what that thing was. Jerry tells him it was Draculon. Jerry says he needs to check in with Unicorn HQ, but his transmitter is inoperable.
Probably due to being submerged in seawater.
But it didn't do any damage to his suit.
Jerry and Johnny start to look around, and we see that they're being watched. It's an armed battalion. They wear sunglasses and berets with skulls on them, and bright yellow belts.
They look like they're cosplaying as Cuban revolutionaries.
One of them shoots a machine gun to get Jerry and Johnny's attention, and it works.
But they only want to capture the two, not kill them. At some point, they take them back to their lair, but we don't see that.
They've been brought for further interrogation. The leader informs them that they've been captured by the Gargoyle Gang, and he wants to know what Jerry and Johnny know about them. Jerry claims to know nothing. "Okay," says the leader, "we'll do this the hard way." He orders his men to take the brat. As they reach for Johnny, Jerry springs into action.
Jerry fights off a few men, grabs Johnny, and sprints into a hallway. They meet, beat, and disarm one man. So Jerry now has a machine gun and Johnny a revolver. Jerry uses the poor guy as a human shield to keep from getting fired upon, but the revolutionaries blast him, killing the guy.
They have no choice but to eliminate the hostage. They shoot down their gargoyle brethren, and Jerry and Johnny make a run for it. Jerry manages to gun down several more gargoyles as he and Johnny try to find an escape, but they find themselves backed into a corner.
It's a dead end, and all seems lost until the floor starts to sink. Apparently they were on an elevated platform of some kind, and as it descends, the two of them see a giant face.
They find they're in a hangar for holding a giant robot. "Tremendous," says Johnny. Jerry is impressed with this giant robot. It must be 100 feet tall, but they can't marvel at it for long. The Gargoyle Gang is here.
But a scientist finds them first and escorts them to the safety of his office. He says his name is Dr. Lucius Guardian, and the Gargoyle Gang forced him to make this big-ass robot. Jerry says Dr. Lucius took a big chance helping them, and Dr. Lucius invites them to get the heck out of there ASAP.
He says the robot will be finished soon, and once the gargoyles have that robot, no power on Earth will be able to stop them because no power on Earth can stop the robot.
Jerry only grasps that the robot is not ready yet. Dr. Lucius says that giant robot only needs atomic power to fire up his brain. Then his controls will be operated by the miniature transmitter. He shows off an ordinary wristwatch, but when he flips the face up, we see that it's full of colorful bits of plastic.
He explains that this device, when spoken into, will enable the user to command the robot. The catch is the robot will only respond to the first voice that is recorded in its electronic brain. Johnny thinks this is pretty cool, and he speaks into it. "Giant robot, start to move." "Johnny, no," says Jerry.
Johnny, no.
Dr. Guardian calmly continues. "Well, the Gargoyle Gang is going to lose. He has planted an atomic bomb that will detonate in 5 minutes and blow up the whole island and destroy the robot."
Oh, way to bury the lead, guy.
So Jerry and Johnny may want to skedaddle out of there.
And then the gargoyles are there, and Dr. Lucius vows to fight them off with Jerry's machine gun so that the two can run for it. And they do. And we see that Johnny is still holding that watch.
Dr. Guardian takes down several gargoyles before succumbing to gunfire himself. Meanwhile, Jerry and Johnny have made it outside, but they're still on an island with nowhere to go. Some gargoyles on patrol see them and throw a grenade. Jerry picks it up and throws it back, and just as it explodes, the timer for that atomic bomb goes off and it explodes as well, taking out the gargoyle base.
Jerry and Johnny admire the fireworks, but Johnny laments that giant robot perished with the rest. But lo, Jerry points out that giant robot is now hovering over the island. It stares at them with dead eyes. Johnny immediately demands that Giant Robot move, and then Giant Robot vogues for a second, looking like Madonna.
Johnny reasons that the explosion must have given off just enough radiation to activate the robot's brain. Jerry thinks this is a lucky break for them.
He realizes that rather slowly, but I think we're going to establish over time that Jerry is a little dim.
Dr. Guardian had told them that the robot would only recognize the first voice that spoke into the microphone, and that was Johnny.
And Johnny looks a little befuddled here, but Jerry thinks this is fantastic. They can hitch a lift back with Giant Robot and check in with the chief on the way. Johnny demands that Giant Robot give them a ride back, and Giant Robot lowers his palm and the two climb into it. Giant Robot then launches into the air, and in some shots we see it cradling them in its palm, and in others they must be clinging on for dear life as Giant Robot turns its hands to the side.
From his underwater ship, Guillotine is able to monitor this turn of events, and he is displeased.
Can imagine.
They have stolen his robot, but he will teach them a lesson. So he makes a video call to the gargoyles. On the screen, they salute, and the leader, Spider, accepts the mission. They are to send the Dracolon to attack Tokyo.
And that Dracolon is the same monster we saw attacking the boat before. And then we see Dracolon, who was apparently lounging next to Guillotine's ship. It stands up, and conveniently, he's already in Tokyo Harbor. As people on shore see him, Jerry Mano casually calls into HQ, where a stressed Azuma tells them, Johnny and Jerry, that Dracolon is attacking Tokyo. Johnny tells Giant Robot to hurry.
The robot lands in Tokyo, and after safely dropping off Jerry and Johnny, confronts Dracolon. Spider and the gargoyles are nearby, and they see this, and Spider realizes that that kid is the one controlling the giant robot. They'll have to get him.
They attack, and Jerry goes to fight the gargoyles so Johnny can direct Giant Robot in battle. There's a skirmish on a pile of dirt and slag as Johnny goes to where he can see Giant Robot, who's getting bodied by Dracolon. And somehow Johnny knows all of Giant Robot's capabilities.
Yeah, I think it was a long flight back to Tokyo, and he probably read the manual on the way.
We didn't see that. He tells Giant Robot to use his missiles, which extend from his hand, and the robot wins handily after that.
Yes, Dracolon retreats back into the sea.
I thought he killed it because we never see it again. Jerry did say that it was defeated, so either way.
Now Jerry and Johnny are being escorted back to Unicorn HQ in the hands of the giant flying robot.
Jerry thanks Johnny, but Johnny's sure that the Gargoyle Gang will be back for more shenanigans. This never occurred to Jerry, who now looks alarmed.
In the Gargoyle headquarters, Spider watches the giant robot as it flies off. He wants it. He tells his men to track it, and they try, but it's moving too fast to track. Meanwhile, a meteor hits a hillside.
The narrator tells us that authorities are investigating this event. Back with the Gargoyle Gang, Spider must break it to Emperor Guillotine that Johnny's controlling Giant Robot and that Unicorn has it now. Guillotine says that he can't conquer the Earth without Giant Robot, so they must succeed. Spider's like, yes, but how?
You idiot, says Guillotine. He explains that he has sent the Nucleon monster to Earth to help with his conquest. Spider asks for clarification, and Guillotine explains to Spider that they will send out Nucleon, then the giant robot will come to try to defeat it, and then Spider can capture the robot. Spider says that by Gargoyle, he will do his best.
At Unicorn HQ, Giant Robot is in the lab being tested. As Azuma, Johnny, Jerry, and the others watch, they put a metallic brassiere on its chest. Actually, they're just zapping it to test its heat resistance. Giant Robot is heat resistant to 3,000 degrees. Azuma says that means nothing on Earth can damage that robot.
Meanwhile, the Japanese Defense Force is at the site where that meteor landed. As it's being watched, the rock splits open, and Nucleon, the magic globe, emerges.
This thing looks like a dog's chew toy. It's a ball with spikes all over it.
But the spikes don't prevent it from rolling. As it rolls downhill, people flee. Then back at the Unicorn organization, Johnny is officially invited to join the group.
Child labor laws be damned. The world needs him.
And more so, they need his robot. It will be a valuable asset. And Johnny agrees to join. He wants to help save the world.
So his call sign is now U7.
Chief Azuma tells Johnny that he must reveal to no one his status as a Unicorn agent. Not even his parents.
He has parents?
Chief Azuma seems to think he does.
I beg to differ. A female agent, U5, runs in with news of the meteor's tag-along, Nucleon. So Azuma sends U3 and U7 to investigate. And they do a little salute and go. Then we see them standing next to Giant Robot, raising their arms for uppies. That's what it looked like. Really, they have jetpacks. And they launch themselves into the air, leaving Giant Robot behind.
Meanwhile, the Defense Force is busy trying to defend against Nucleon, who is now rolling down a hill towards a town.
By Defense Force, we mean a bunch of toy tanks.
Behind Nucleon is Spider and the Gargoyle Gang, keeping appraised of Nucleon's progress. Spider reports back to Guillotine that the Nucleon is on the move. From the sky, Jerry and Johnny can see that things aren't looking good for this town. They land and Johnny calls for Giant Robot to join them.
And this plays right into Emperor Guillotine's plans. Giant Robot arrives, and Johnny directs it to punch the ball hard, and Giant Robot does. Emperor Guillotine tells his gang to get that robot.
And Johnny gives repeated commands like, get the ball and attack.
It's so nonspecific. Johnny has Giant Robot blast Nucleon with its missiles. Giant Robot does, but Nucleon gets away and sneaks up behind them somehow.
Then Spider and the other gargoyles come up behind Jerry and Johnny, and they capture Jerry. Johnny tries to help him, but Jerry tells him he has to get away so he can continue to control the robot. But Johnny is captured as well, and he's taken directly to Spider, who introduces himself by taking off his sunglasses and glaring at Johnny.
Johnny, like Jerry, is gassed and then taken towards the car.
Johnny, being unconscious, disables the robot because it cannot move unless he's commanded to do so.
So Nucleon KOs Giant Robot and tows it back to Guillotine's ship.
At Unicorn headquarters, agents notice from their scopes that the robot seems to be moving strangely.
As in, not under Johnny's command anymore. So the Unicorn assemble to rescue Johnny and Jerry.
Meanwhile, Jerry and Johnny are being stuffed into the back of the gargoyle's car. One of the gargoyles asks if he should blast the tall one, but Spider says they can do that later. He wants to interrogate him to find out the identities of the other Unicorn agents first.
As for Johnny, he's going to be taken back to the lair so that he can be brainwashed with their hypnothon and thus be under their command, so Giant Robot will ostensibly belong to them after that.
Guillotine is keeping abreast of these events, and he's pleased.
With the Unicorn broken up and Giant Robot under their command, the world will be theirs. Emperor Guillotine gloats as we see Nucleon dragging Giant Robot down into the depths of the ocean.
At long last, the Giant Robot is his.
On the way back to Gargoyle HQ, Spider and his gang have to stop for a disabled vehicle. But when they go to investigate who's inside the car, surprise, it's Unicorn. There's a skirmish on the mountain between Spider's gang and the Unicorn gang, and it's pretty even until Nucleon returns, without Giant Robot, and joins the attack.
In the back of the car, Johnny comes too. He wakes up Jerry, and they both run out of the car. Johnny immediately calls upon the robot to return, which he does almost immediately. The gargoyles run back to their car to try to get away. So now we have round 2. This time, the robot flings Nucleon into the gargoyle's fleeing car. It explodes and the day is saved.
The Unicorn crew cheer the deaths of their enemy. Under the sea, Guillotine vows to try again to get Giant Robot back. And then we have a major shift in plot.
A couple is cruising a lake on a speedboat when a monster suddenly rises from the water. The monster attacks the boat, and the passengers jump into the water. Then the monster begins sucking up all the lake water.
Yeah, it's some sort of flat fish type thing, but it has a massive snout for a head, and it uses it to drain the lake.
Now we find we have a new villain to deal with. This is Dr. Botanist.
How do you describe him? He's caked in silver makeup with a obviously fake brow ridge, and he's wearing a cape, and underneath, gold lame. The costumer really loves lame.
With Dr. Botanist is Dangor, the executioner.
He also has a very lumpy head. He looks like the Frankenstein monster from Frankenstein Conquers the World, which we covered a while ago.
But with a face tattoo and a table leg for a leg.
He's got a peg leg. His tattoo looks like it was drawn on by someone who just didn't care. It's not even symmetrical. He's also giggling. He doesn't understand why they had to drain the lake. Dr. Botanist says the lake had to be completely drained to activate the gargoyle vine.
Just then, Guillotine calls in and Dr. Botanist tells him that Operation Lake was successful.
Phase 1 anyway.
And they will soon reach their goal of conquering the planet. Guillotine tells him not to get cocky.
Well, Phase 2 is now in effect. Botanist says that I, Dr. Botanist, will not fail.
Now we're on an average street and Chief Azuma is driving along, and nearby is Dangor the executioner wearing a suit and fedora. Dangor shoots a single shot into the car's windshield, and the car goes out of control and careens into a building.
Next time we see Azuma, he's limping into his headquarters with his head bandaged and his arm in a sling. The agents come to the obvious conclusion that the gargoyles were behind this, and Azuma produces the bullet that was fired at him and says that it was examined by ballistics, but apparently they're not very good at their job.
Azuma places the bullet on the table, and it begins to speak. It tells them that they plan to have the gargoyle vine turned loose to demolish the earth, but they can surrender now while they still can, and they might just let them live. They examine the bullet and find a small tape player device inside. Johnny suggests they speak to Dr. Dorian. He knows all about the gargoyle vine.
He knows how it grows.
So we're going to have a Scrubs crossover.
It's so funny, he took the bullet to ballistics, but they never thought of opening it up to see if there was a tape recorder inside. Back with Dr. Botanist, he congratulates Dangor the executioner on being a good shot, and then tells him that his next task is to kidnap Dr. Dorian from Sacred Heart Hospital. Also, they apparently have a cat. We see a cat for like 2 seconds, maybe less. It might be an accident. Someone just want to put their cat in this movie. At Dr. Dorian's crib, Dangor and some gargoyles park the car and go in, surprising Dr. Dorian. A few stand by the car acting as lookouts. Then they see Jerry and Johnny arrive, so the unicorns have to fight their way in.
There's a brief skirmish, but Jerry and Johnny are able to chase off the gargoyle gang. Then they bring Dr. Dorian back to Unicorn headquarters.
Well, they used gas on the gargoyles to put everybody out, including Dr. Dorian, and then they give him some more gas to wake him up.
At the Unicorn HQ, Dr. Dorian says that the gargoyle vine had been destroyed, so they must have grown another one.
Azuma, looking at a photograph of the gargoyle vine, wants to know why it's motionless. Because it's a picture? No. Dr. Dorian says that it needs more power. And the upshot of this conversation is that if the military were to attack the gargoyle vine, it would cause it to grow really big. So they mustn't do that.
So Chief Azuma immediately calls the defense force to tell them to call off any planned attack. But the minister is sick and tired of having scientists tell him what to do and announces his intention to not listen to them. He hangs up and the chief reports his failure at phone calls. Johnny thinks the Minister of Defense should listen to Dr. Dorian. That's all.
Johnny is appalled by this bureaucratic blunder. So the Air Force flies over the dormant plant. They do not spray it with any kind of weed killer, but rather missiles, which of course gives it the power to launch lava at the planes, destroying the entire squadron.
And now the minister has to make a statement at his failure at administering.
He has to explain the consequences of his ignorance and obstinance to his boss, who I guess decides to send in more planes. Bunch of morons. And next we're with Dr. Botanist Stangor and a big plastic salamander head. As they chuckle at the stupid humans' efforts to attack the gargoyle vine.
Guillotine calls in for an update, and Dr. Botanist informs them that they were stupid enough to try to attack the gargoyle vine and were easily destroyed.
Yep, Phase 2 worked like a charm. Now it's time for Phase 3, whatever that is.
Back at Unicorn headquarters, they're trying to figure out how to proceed against the gargoyle vine if they can't blast it, because that's been tried and it's just as Dr. Dorian said would happen. The vine is only growing. Azuma asks Dorian what can they do, but the doctor is out of ideas.
He seems really distraught here. He says there's no way to stop it. Azuma sends U3 to help the refugees of the gargoyle vine's destruction. As for U7, he sends him to the lake bed with Giant Robot to stand ready to assist all Unicorn agents.
So now the robot is carrying Johnny as it flies toward the action. Johnny sees that things are worse than he thought. He reports back to headquarters that the vine is throwing projectiles of lava. He asks for an order to send the robot into action, but Azuma refuses. An attack will only cause the vine to grow more and become even more dangerous.
He tries to consult Dr. Dorian, but Dr. Dorian can't even look at Azuma. So Azuma tells Johnny and the giant robot to stand by. And now we see a bunch of refugees crossing a bridge guided by Unicorn agents. And then we see that the bridge is now on fire and it collapses, but it looks like everybody got across it first.
Elsewhere, Jerry and other agents are helping to evacuate a school. When they reach safety, the teacher takes attendance and discovers that 2 students are missing. The teacher tries to go back for them, but Jerry holds her back. From Johnny's vantage point, he can see the 2 children in danger, so he calls on Giant Robot to rescue them.
And Giant Robot picks them up in his hands and returns the children to their teacher and the rest of the students. And then we see that an entire village is aflame. Johnny once again asks for his orders, hoping that they are to destroy the vine. But Dr. Dorian has finally come back to life and warns Johnny to stay away. Oh, that darn plant, swears Johnny.
Johnny calls again. He has an idea that the giant robot can take out the dam on the lake, and the resulting flood of water will force the plant back into dormancy. And then they can shoot it. Azuma checks a map and sees that yes, there is indeed a dam in that lake. And Dr. Dorian agrees that if they were to destroy the dam, it will weaken the vine enough for them to attack. So Azuma gives the go-ahead for Giant Robot to destroy the dam and then attack the vine.
And then the plan is implemented. The dam is broken, water is released, Giant Robot starts wrestling the vine and then shoots its finger rockets at it, disabling it. And everyone's happy. Well, almost everyone.
Guillotine is not. He's giving Dr. Botanist just one more chance to capture the giant robot. So Lagoria, a dog-like monster with a horn on his head, is sent in. Lagoria is positioned over train tracks and he swallows an incoming train. This was all part of an elaborate kidnapping plot.
Inside the train, a male traveler is very surprised to be in a monster's digestive tract. And then he's even more confused when a man with an eye patch, wearing a black and silver cape over a silver lame suit, opens his compartment door and starts beating him up.
This is Harlequin, a minion to Dr. Botanist.
Dr. Botanist gloats to his men that they disappeared an entire train. Unicorn won't know what happened to it. Then a flunky says that they have the prisoner, so Botanist says that he will interrogate him. But as the interrogation begins, Harlequin just yells at the prisoner that they know who he is. He's Suzuki, chief of the Kyoto branch of Unicorn.
He is also the only living witness as to what happened with the passengers of that train.
Then he finally asks him a question. How do you like that? Suzuki likes it not.
Oh no, he says. You killed all those people.
Just for me. A human being would never do that. Dr. Botanist says, well, it's a good thing we're Gargolian, or whatever he said.
At the Unicorn Tokyo division, everyone is discussing the disappearance of Suzuki. There was a planned conference of Unicorn agents, and Suzuki was to be the guest of honor. It was supposed to be top secret, but it appears word about it got out.
And then Azuma sends Johnny and Jerry, U3 and U7, to Kyoto, and he gives them a briefcase.
He handcuffs the briefcase to Jerry's wrist and tells them that what the gargoyles want is in this briefcase. Their orders are in code, and he tells them they'll have to decipher them, and this makes little sense.
Yeah, their orders are in there, but their orders are also to decipher it and to do whatever it says. Moving on. We're on a train to Kyoto. No one eats this train, but Harlequin is there observing Jerry and Johnny.
Back at Dr. Botanist's, the interrogation of Suzuki continues. Is it true there is to be a meeting of unicorn agents? Asks Botanist. Yes, replies Suzuki. He tells them the meeting is in Kyoto, but he doesn't know where.
But Dr. Botanist is determined. He'll show them how he operates. And then a flunky enters to say that they've found Unicorn HQ. And then someone says that Suzuki is to be prepped for surgery. And then we see some sort of metal device placed on his head for easy brainwashing.
Now we're in what appears to be a restaurant. Jerry and Johnny are there with another unicorn agent, and there is an empty chair, maybe intended for Suzuki.
I think it's for Jesus.
And 2 waiters in powder blue are standing by, ready to serve.
I think they're agents. They act like it later.
So is this that conference? No, we know it's not, so.
Yeah, it's not, but what is it? It's a conference about the conference.
Jerry suggests they open this meeting with a prayer for Suzuki. Everyone bows their heads, and as they do this, a secret doorway in the wall opens up, and Suzuki just walks in. The Kyoto agent is very happy to see his chief. Everyone takes a seat, and Suzuki says he'd like to know all the details about the scheduled conference.
Suzuki seems really off here. Jerry is shocked that he's asking this. Suzuki should already know what he's asking about, right? And then Suzuki gets crabby when Jerry denies him the coded message. Don't they trust him?
Suzuki is really adamant about wanting to see the contents of Jerry's briefcase, but Jerry is firm. He can only release the information under orders from his superior. Suzuki says he doesn't like this, and asks where Jerry and Johnny are staying in Kyoto.
Dr. Botanist and the others watch as Jerry writes down their address, after first getting the nod from Johnny that this is okay. Suzuki's eye twitches as he reads it.
Suzuki returns home. His hired help is delighted to see that he has returned since he had been missing, as is his daughter.
Suzuki has no time for his daughter, however. He goes straight into his office and doxes Jerry and Johnny's location to Dr. Botanist. Then we see that Suzuki's daughter is outside overhearing this conversation.
Jerry and Johnny go back to their hotel room and check for listening devices.
Oh, they checked really thoroughly.
Deciding it's safe, they relax. Johnny asks Jerry what he thinks about Suzuki, and Jerry suspects that the gargoyles may have him under some kind of mind control, so that's why he gave him their room information.
Johnny says it looks like sure trouble, and Jerry agrees. And then there's a knock on the door. A waiter, it's really Harlequin with his eye patch removed, brings 2 huge goblets of wine for Jerry and Johnny, a minor.
The sound of laughter echoes throughout the room, and Dr. Botanist appears from behind the curtain.
Well, first he's outside the window, and then he's inside the room. And then Harlequin morphs into his costume self.
And the tray he was holding is now a gun, and it's pointed at Jerry and Johnny.
They're really good at mind control, I guess, because they fooled me.
Botanist, still laughing, tells Jerry to drop his gun. Botanist says he just dropped by to get that briefcase. And to give Jerry this. Botanist pulls on a sword and swings it downward, but Jerry jumps out of the way and Botanist splits the coffee table instead.
There's an awkward struggle. Johnny throws a cushion at Harlequin, but Botanist and Harlequin easily prevail.
Well, they're not there to fight, so they got what they want. They got that briefcase, so they skedaddle.
Well, they actually amble out of there easily. Jerry lunges for Botanist, but he gets only a handful of cape. He pulls it away and notices that it has 2 arms attached. But Botanist is still wearing a cape after he does that. I guess he has spare capes and arms.
Jerry and Johnny run out into the hall after Botanist and Harlequin, but they vanished. Now back at Botanist's lair, he and Harlequin open the briefcase, but find only blank sheets of paper inside. Harlequin is a little amused, but Botanist is not. They've embarrassed him, so now he will have to send Lagoria back into action.
In their hotel room, Suzuki's daughter arrives. She heard their address after all. She tells Johnny and Jerry that her papa came home, but he wasn't acting like her papa.
So they all go to Suzuki's house, and Jerry and Johnny burst into Suzuki's office. Suzuki says they should know he is who he says he is, but Jerry needs to be sure, so he and Johnny are going to take Suzuki back with them.
They strong-arm a very grumpy Suzuki into leaving with them. They hail a cab and go, but Harlequin is there and watches them leave.
As the taxi's driving along, Johnny realizes that they're going the wrong way, and Suzuki tells them that the driver, like him, is under gargoyle control. Johnny begins to call on Giant Robot to help, but a gas emanates from the car and knocks everyone unconscious.
Well, every human. Nevertheless, Johnny did send a signal out. It was received at Unicorn HQ, but they can only surmise that Johnny and Jerry were taken. They have no idea to where. They never managed to get a call through to Giant Robot. When we next find Johnny and Jerry, they're bound on the floor of a cell.
They wake up as prisoners of Dr. Botanist.
They're under the lake.
Botanist tells them they have 5 minutes to live, and he sets a timer to stress them out.
He wants the documents. Johnny says, nope, Dr. Botanist can do his worst to them. He didn't actually consult Jerry on that one. But Dr. Botanist leaves them alone, so he didn't do his worst.
Jerry thinks it might be a good time to call on the robot, but they're both tied up and Johnny can't access his wristwatch device. At Unicorn headquarters, an agent comes in with good news and bad news. The good news is he's gone to the hotel room in Kyoto and the briefcase is still there. The bad news is that agents U3 and U7 were nowhere to be found. Chief Azuma orders that the agents in Kyoto should get busy tracking down his missing men.
Back with Dr. Botanist, he vows to break up the Kyoto meeting by force, ordering Harlequin to use Ligurian to accomplish this. And then we see Liguria emerging from the sea.
Now we're back with Jerry and Johnny, and Jerry is trying to pull open Johnny's device with his teeth. He does so, and Johnny calls the robot, and the giant robot begins its launching sequence.
They get to reuse this footage so many times in this movie. Back at Unicorn headquarters, U5 tells the others that Giant Robot has been summoned, and that means Jerry and Johnny are okay. Yay! And then we see that the army is trying to fight Liguria, but we know only Giant Robot is up to the task.
There is 1 minute left on that timer, and Johnny commands the robot to destroy the Liguria. The two fight a bit, then the robot throws Liguria over a bridge and into the water. Then the robot follows him into the water. On his ship under the sea, Dr. Botanist is informed that the giant robot is coming. He turns on his view screen and sees that this is true. The robot picks up and shakes the spaceship, rescues Johnny, Jerry, and Suzuki, and flies the 3 of them to safety.
Well, I like the part where he's shaking the ship and Johnny and Jerry are like, whoa, Johnny, get your robot to stop doing that. And now we're back at Unicorn headquarters. I believe we are starting a new chapter in this story where a little girl on the communications console intercepts a message from the gargoyles and reports it to Azuma. This is Agent U6, who appears to be a 6th grader. They're really big on hiring children at this organization.
Azuma wants to know where that signal originated because it could mean an impending attack, and he assigns Jerry and Johnny to locate that signal source. So Jerry and Johnny drive out to a ghost town that seems to be where the signal originated from.
They find an abandoned building and head inside. After exploring a bit, they hear the booming laugh of Emperor Guillotine. They identify the source of the message and blast at it, but it was only a tape player.
They've been played for fools.
Again.
Jerry and Johnny go back to their car, but as they start to enter, a shot rings out and Johnny goes down.
Oh no.
Jerry calls into Unicorn HQ and tells him he needs an ambulance ASAP. U6 communicates that Johnny better be okay. No one else can control that robot.
Yeah, not Johnny for Johnny's sake, but if he dies, Giant Robot won't listen to anybody. And then the sniper, who's not Dangor the Executioner, phones into his HQ and tells Emperor Guillotine that U7 has been neutralized, but Guillotine knows better and demands proof of death. So the sniper heads to the hospital, where he finds Johnny alone in bed.
He's dressed as a doctor, so he's easily able to sneak past the Unicorn agents guarding the door. He walks in and shoots the form on the bed. The guards rush in at the sound, and the sniper jumps out the window and escapes. He calls Guillotine to tell him that he was successful this time, but it turns out he wasn't. Somehow, Johnny had the foresight to not be in that bed when his would-be assassin came to pay him a visit. Instead, Johnny somehow put himself in the trunk of the assassin's car.
And he put pillows on his bed to imitate the human form. Johnny reports into HQ to the delight of teenager U6. They try to find out where Johnny is, but he can only guess that he's on the way to Guillotine's headquarters.
Azuma tells Johnny to report back when he can. From his spacecraft, Guillotine laughs. He is monitoring all Unicorn transmissions, unbeknownst to them, the fools.
And then the sniper who's driving along has to stop his car as a large eyeball heaves into view on the horizon. He asks his boss what he's doing.
Guillotine tells him that he's an idiot, and U7 is alive and in the trunk of the car, so he's going to be collateral damage.
If the giant eyeball is going to destroy the car, Johnny, realizing he's in danger, calls on Giant Robot to help. Giant Robot picks up the car and starts flying off, but the sniper hasn't got friends in high places, so he gets dumped out and falls to his death.
Giant Robot lands and places the car gently onto the ground. Johnny exits as the robot turns to face that big eye. Johnny calls into HQ, and Azuma warns that Guillotine is likely to mobilize all the monsters they defeated in the past, but for now, their priority is to get rid of that eye.
As Giant Robot approaches the eye, another ship starts harassing him. We find out that Guillotine's plan is to wear Giant Robot out, having to battle all these other monsters.
Guillotine is flying his saucer nearby, and that takes everyone's attention for a moment. Johnny reports this to Azuma, who is on his way with a team. Azuma tells Johnny not to worry about that now, but to have the robot resume its attack on the eye.
The Unicorn squad arrives and attempts to provide assistance from the ground, but they get overwhelmed. Johnny orders Giant Robot to kill some flappy-armed white creature that's pestering him.
Meanwhile, the Gargoyle Gang is also on the ground, ready to attack. As Giant Robot takes on Guillotine's monsters, Azuma demands that the Gargoyle Gang surrender. They won't, but they change their minds when they see Giant Robot coming towards them. As they're being brought in, a spaceship pushes its way out of a mountain. This is Guillotine's ship.
It was in a hatch of some sort.
Johnny sends in the robot to destroy the saucer.
Which it does, and everyone cheers, until Guillotine starts laughing and comes out of hiding. He's now as big as Giant Robot. Johnny demands that Giant Robot attack, but Giant Robot is out of juice. You fell for it, guffaws Emperor Guillotine.
The giant robot has used up all its nuclear energy fighting his monsters. Azuma thinks they can still win. He orders his men to attack. Guillotine warns them that his body is filled with atomic energy, and if a bullet penetrates his skin, it will mean the death of all of them. To prove it, Guillotine rips out a fingernail and throws it into the mountainside, and it explodes on impact. "You see," says Guillotine, "and that was only a fingernail."
Jerry wants to shoot anyway, but Azuma says no. The gargoyles free themselves, and one tries to take Johnny's watch, which somehow activates Giant Robot's auxiliary power source. It goes to fight Guillotine, even as Johnny tells Giant Robot not to fight back, but it's too late.
Robot grabs Guillotine and takes off into the air. Johnny commands the robot to stop and return, but the Giant Robot is no longer taking commands. Instead, Giant Robot takes Guillotine on a voyage into space, where they crash into an asteroid.
This detonates Guillotine. The explosion can be seen from the Earth as a flash of light, I guess, and all the unicorn agents are big sad, especially Johnny.
"Guillotine is dead," says Azuma, "and with him is..." Tears fall down Johnny's face. He's lost his giant toy, and with it, likely his job.
He's going to have to go back to school. And then the narrator tells us that Giant Robot sacrificed himself to save the Earth, but then tries to placate any sad and traumatized kids who just saw that. He says, who knows, like a miracle, maybe one day Johnny's friend will return when he needs him the most, but probably not. Anyway, that's the end.
You're listening to the American International Podcast, and we're discussing Voyage into Space from 1970.
Giant Robo, or Gianto Robo, also known as Johnny Sokko and his Flying Robot in the United States, was first a manga and then a live-action adventure series created by Mitsundbu Yokoyama. The original 26-episode TV series, produced by Toei Company, originally aired on the NET network in Japan from October 11, 1967 to April 1, 1968. In the original version, the lead characters are named Daisaku Kusama, who's Johnny Sokko in America, and Jiro Minami, or Jerry Mano.
The English-dubbed American version of the series, written by Reuben Guberman, was produced by American International Television. It was first broadcast in the United States in 1970 by AIP-TV and was in syndication throughout the early 1980s. It also aired during the early 1970s through the 1990s in Australia, the United Kingdom, Brazil, India, and various Southeast Asian and Latin American countries.
Bobbie Byers, who voiced Johnny Sokko in the American dubbed episodes, was an American actress who got into dubbing while acting in plays on Broadway. She told Brett Homenick at VantagePointInterviews.com that she got the gig dubbing Johnny's voice based on other work she had done, like voicing the title character in the animated series Prince Planet. She also said that she directed some of the American episodes of Johnny Sokko, but that Mark Harris directed most of them. Byers said her approach to the character was that Johnny Sokko was a live-action Prince Planet, and said that it typically took her less than a day per episode to loop in all the dialogue. She said Harris voiced a villain in every episode, and someone named Paul Brown voiced Jerry Mano.
In 1970, stock footage from episodes 1, 2, 10, 17, and 26 of Johnny Sokko and his Flying Robot were edited together and released by AIP-TV as the 100-minute made-for-TV film Voyage into Space.
Hey, that's what we watched. American International TV released Voyage into Space as part of its Fantastic Science Fiction Theater package in 1970.
In 1996, the Johnny Sokko version of the series was re-released through distribution by Orion Home Video and Streamline Pictures, containing 8 episodes in production order on 4 volumes of 2 episodes on each video cassette. Plans for further volumes were canceled due to the parent company, Orion Pictures, being purchased by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1997.
On March 26, 2013, Shout Factory released the 26-episode, 4-disc box set of Johnny Sokko and his Flying Robot, the complete series, on DVD in Region 1. In February of 2021, a remastered version of Voyage into Space was released on Blu-ray by Ronin Flix and Scorpion Releasing.
Hey, that's what we watched. Former Guns N' Roses guitarist Buckethead, a big fan of the TV series, has made several references to it within his musical career. He named his early band Giant Robot and also gave their first album that name. He often plays a rendition of the TV series theme song during his live shows and has been known to show stock footage from the TV series in the background of some of his live shows on screens in the venue.
And Giant Robot makes a background cameo in the South Park episode Imagination Land Episode 3, which is Season 11, Episode 12. And writer Dave Pilkey, a fan of the show, has Giant Robo making a cameo in the 10th book in his Captain Underpants series, titled Captain Underpants and the Revolting Revenge of the Radioactive Roboboxers. My kids used to read those books.
Mine did not.
Well, I had boys and you had girls.
So Cheryl, this is bringing us back into a group of TV movies released by the television arm of AIP. How do you feel about exploring these films again?
I feel like they're really hit and miss. We've done it before and we found some real gems, but we've also found some major turkeys.
Yeah, I think that the majority of these are going to be turkeys, but I look forward to exploring all of them.
Well, I always look forward to exploring the movies. And even if I'm not personally a big fan of them, I do like watching them and doing whatever research we can on them. For the TV movies, there's not as much information because they weren't released theatrically for the most part. and we don't have a lot of movie reviews. We don't have a lot of the production information. With this one, we're pretty lucky that it was a TV show that's very well documented.
Yeah, Voyage in Space was a movie that I chose for us to look at. And I had actually wanted to do it the last time we did a series of the television movies, but it didn't make the cut. So that's why it's the first one this time, because I wanted to make sure we got it in. I was a big fan of the Johnny Sokko and his Flying Robot TV show back in the 70s. So this was a really nostalgic watch for me.
I was not a big fan back in the 70s, but I had a little brother and he used to watch it all the time. So I was aware of it, but it was not for me.
I had the first volume of the VHS release from Orion Video with the first 2 episodes. But other than those 2, it was the first that I'd seen the show in over a decade until the Shout Factory DVDs came out. And I bought those and I've watched a couple of them, but I haven't sat down and watched the whole series after all these years. So really getting into Voyage into Space, which has also been sitting on my shelf for a few years unwatched, was my first revisit with Johnny Sokko in quite some time.
Well, I'm interested to know how your feelings have changed over the years.
Well, I talked a little bit about Guillotine's mask and how it looked to me then, and I'm trying to remember how I felt watching this back in the 70s. I know I watched it on WXON Channel 20, Detroit. It was on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays were reserved for Ultraman, because there's only 26 episodes, so if you played them 5 days a week, you'd have to watch the whole series every month. Even back then, I realized they were using the same stock footage of the robot over and over again. It's pretty obvious, plus it's a lot grainier than the rest of the picture.
I wonder why that is. It's the same show, right?
It's probably just duped over and over and over again.
Keeps losing fidelity.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is something that I wondered about back then, but now I'm just curious. How does Guillotine recruit the Gargoyle Gang? Because they seem to be from Earth. They seem to be human.
But they were a force right when Johnny and Jerry make it to the island. So they already had a lair. They already had multiple members over God knows how many locations. And they named themselves after the planet that Guillotine is from.
They were Guillotine's minions, but I don't know how he managed to get people from Earth to say, oh, this sounds like a good idea.
But then again, the appearance of the Gargoylians seemed to vary very wildly from person to person or gargoyle to gargoyle.
I really need to revisit the series and watch the whole thing to see what kind of continuity they may have that introduces these characters.
Well, what I want to know is how did they have all these monsters? They don't have all those monsters on the ship because they're all bigger than the ship. We see them standing next to each other several times.
Well, they're obviously all lab-grown.
I don't know about that. The gargoyle vine had been dormant at the bottom of the lake for eons.
That was actually a sequel episode in the movie, the second appearance of the gargoyle vine in the series. The gargoyle vine makes its first appearance in episode 3, and episode 17 was the one included in the film version.
Well, I wouldn't know that as a viewer of just the film.
That's what I'm saying. I need to go back and watch the series.
Yes, you do.
To refresh my memory, because I don't remember this stuff. I did think it was kind of cool that Emperor Guillotine took it upon himself to come to Earth to destroy it instead of sending an army of Gargoylians to do the dirty work for him.
Well, they were all pretty dumb, so they couldn't be trusted.
That's because he hired Earthmen for the most part, except for Dr. Bottomus, whoever that guy was.
All his minions, as in the tradition of bad TV and movies everywhere, are very dumb, and they need to be regularly chastised in person to keep on mission. So he has to be here.
And you mentioned that the Gargoyle Gang seemed to be rather established at the beginning of the series, but so does the Unicorn Organization, which seems to just exist in order to counter the Gargoyles' plans. So
shenanigans. Yeah, but you could say that they're there to fight any enemy of the Earth.
Well, if they want to be relevant after Guillotine is blasted off into space, I guess they'll have to go that route, huh?
Well, Guillotine may be gone, but the Gargoyle force is still there. We don't know what happened to Dr. Botanus or Harlequin or Spider. They weren't all killed, right?
Well, I do know that Spider is killed in episode 7 because I watched that last night.
I was not watching it.
So I don't know if Botanus and Dengor Harlequin, if they meet their deaths within the series or not. But I'm going to go back and check. It's only 13 hours worth of my time to find out.
I don't have that much free time. What I want to know is why were they dressed like Soviet soldiers or Cuban revolutionaries? I think one guy's even cosplaying as Che Guevara, and they do Nazi salutes. Is this just shorthand for evil in this universe?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
It just seems a little unsavory watching it in the here and now.
When I was a kid, my sister was scared of the Gargoyle Gang being under her bed, which I thought was hilarious because it's just a bunch of guys in sunglasses and berets and sometimes fake beards.
If you're a little girl, you don't want a bunch of guys in berets and fake beards under your bed. So I think it was justified.
And another thing that I noticed even as a kid was that the robot required very specific commands to do anything. Johnny's always like, throw your atomic punch. But then sometimes it's vague, like, attack the ball.
This is a robot that needs to be micromanaged, and well, he's dropping the ball.
Until he says screw it at the very end, and he's not listening. And he's sick of taking Johnny's orders, I guess, so he's just going to end it for Guillotine and himself.
I mean, we're both parents. We've been bossed around by children for a while. Eventually you get tired of it. You just want to go your own way.
Launch into a meteor.
I realized that they needed to end the series, but I think Giant Robot could have just as easily hurled Guillotine at that meteor. It didn't need to die with it. But then, like you said, it was probably just exhausted from having to bend to the whims of a child.
I remember watching that series finale as a kid and not understanding what was going to happen next. It seemed like the end, but the next day the show was still on. So,
well, I was going to ask, were you traumatized by the ending? Because the first time we watched it, I was to a small degree upset that this robot had to die.
I don't remember exactly how it affected me, but I know I wasn't happy about it. And I'm sure with only 26 episodes and me watching as religiously as I did, I've seen it more than once. I know I'd seen the first episode probably more than any other episode since I had it on VHS and then DVD. And that one always stood out because Johnny isn't wearing the unicorn uniform yet. He's got a short pantsuit and tie on.
Well, it did seem like that disclaimer was added at the end, both to, like I said, placate any traumatized kids, and also to make it make sense when the show starts up again the next day.
Well, even if it wasn't in syndication, they might want to just keep the idea around that this could return.
I'm surprised it never did. There's no sequels, there's no remakes that I know of. I think this would be ripe for an animated remake.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd watch it, but I'd check it out. So, Cheryl, I get the feeling that this movie did not give you the feels it gave me, but how are you going to rate it using our AIP scale, where A is awesome, I is intermediate, and P is pathetic?
I have 2 ratings for this movie. The first time when we watched it, we just watched it, didn't try to parse out what was happening. And it might surprise you to find out that I was enjoying it. I do like a big dumb rubber monster movie or show every once in a while, and this definitely qualifies. I would say that I'm probably more a fan of the Power Rangers, which I watched when my children were small, which has the same vibe. A bunch of humans are trying to fight off this alien invader, whether it's Rita Repulsa or Emperor Guillotine. It's basically the same story, and the quality is basically the same too. So it kind of brought me back to that. I don't have any personal nostalgia for Johnny Sokko, but like I said, giant robot monster stuff, I liked it, and I was enjoying it. And I would have given it an A at that point, but then we watched it a second time. And we had to stop down and write down what was happening. And that took all the fun out of it. We took our notes on this yesterday. By the end of that time, I was absolutely sick to death of this movie. And I would have given it a P at that point. But I'm going to average out those 2 grades and give it an I. On its own, it's fine. It's even good sometimes. But it's just not for me. What do you think?
My thoughts on this are going to be completely nostalgia based. But I think the movie being comprised of television episodes is at a disadvantage. Obviously, the way to watch this is to go back to the original television series and not watch the abridged versions that appear in the film. The film can give you whiplash with the way the story is moving around because it stuffs 5 episodes into just over an hour and a half. Things keep happening and you never get a breather in between the next monster that Guillotine's throwing at you.
Mm-hmm.
But because I have these memories of watching the show as a kid, I'm sure I got a lot more out of the film than I would have otherwise. And that is going to affect my grade. I'm going to give it an A. And your mileage may vary, but purely based on the nostalgia that it brought, this movie was an awesome one to me.
I had a feeling you'd say that, and I understand completely. And like I said, I enjoyed it the first time around, and if I had never seen it again, I would not have changed my grade. But I just think it doesn't really bear rewatching, and that's what killed it for me. And I think you're right. If I had just watched the show, I probably wouldn't have been as cranky as I was watching this one, because trying to make it make sense in my head just ruined it for me. You kept saying, well, in episode 3, this happened, or in episode 7, this happened, and we didn't see those. And so I had no idea what was going on. So as a movie, it just doesn't work. As individual episodes, I'm sure it works a lot better.
That was exactly my point of why I'm going to go back and watch the series so I can make sense of the movie.
Well, you can tell me all about it because I won't be joining you.
One last thing I want to mention is there are no real credits on the film. We listed a writer and director, and I went back to the series to get those names. The writer Reuben Guberman and director Manuel San Fernando are credited on every episode of the series, and near as we can tell, Reuben Guberman wrote the English dialogue, but from what our researchers brought up, it was not directed by Manuel San Fernando.
He owned the studio, according to Bobbie Byers.
Right, and she said that she directed a few of the episodes, and most had been directed by Mark Harris, whose name didn't appear anywhere else in the research that I could find.
Right, and we don't know what's true. That's why we're telling you it's what she said.
So like a lot of the dubbed output that American International put out, there really isn't a lot of documented material about who worked on these dubs. So a lot of it's guesswork, and we're piecing together what we can, and hopefully we got it right, or at least close to right.
And though our beloved giant robot may be gone forever, the AIP website is alive and thriving. At AIPpod.com, you'll find our entire library of episodes dating back to when we started, over 3 years ago. Contact us via the handy form provided, as we'd love to hear which movie you are most looking forward to us reviewing, and we'd love to hear your comments on something we said, or you can let us know if you can help us find some AIP movies missing from our library. There's a list of what we are looking for on the site. While you're there, you can indulge in your love of all things AIP, as we are building a database of the entire AIP catalog as we go through it week by week. We have lobby cards, posters, trailers, and other advertising materials on display. And you can see where to find these films so that you can enjoy them yourself. While you're on our site, consider going to our store, as a purchase of one of our offerings helps keep the podcast coming at you every week. And once again, that's AIPpod.com.
With that, we'll be signing off here at American International Podcast, but don't touch that dial. We'll be back before you know it with another deep dive into the AITV archives. Until then, I'm Jeff Markin.
I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And we'll meet you at the drive-in. Follow the American International Podcast on Instagram and Letterboxd at AIP_pod and on Facebook at facebook.com/American International Podcast.
The American International Podcast is produced and edited by Jeff Markin.
A man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
And Cheryl Lightfoot.
A girl hungry for too many things.
The American International Podcast is part of the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.